Hi, welcome to Historic Tours and Recipes. Today we're doing something a little bit off topic. We have some guests with us. I have Frank Grisham from the Pain Management Center and one of our people who works on the crew of the show and is also a producer, Mike Bryant. And Mike is a patient of Frank, so I'm going to have you introduce him for us.
Yes, Frank runs the Chronic Pain Center in Springfield. And I was referred to him several years ago, and he's treated me on a couple occasions for various types of pain in the shoulder. But I'm going to ask him, he's got a lot of alphabetic after his name, CMPTP.
Close.
What does that all stand for? And especially the one word, myofascial.
Myofascial, well, it's certified myofascial trigger point therapist. Myofascial just means connective muscle. So your muscles connect in different ways. So it's never just one muscle. That if a muscle's bothering you, there's more than really one muscle involved. So with that, trigger point therapy is where you have an irritable spot in the muscle and it causes pain. It refers pain to another part of the body. So I specialize in finding out where the pain's coming from, what muscle's involved, and treating it that way.
And I know that you're one of the few people in the country who use the protocol of Dr. Janet Travell,
yes,
who was the doctor. She has since passed away, but she was the doctor who treated President Kennedy for his infamous back pain.
Yes, she was actually the only female White House physician. And I think she was, for a little while, she was with President Johnson as well. But she helped President Kennedy with his pain.
Now, he used a rocker for the pain?
Yeah, I believe it's the Kennedy rocker. She developed that for him. She also developed, I believe she developed the seating for the shuttles, the spacecraft, John Deere tractors. So, and I used to ride a tractor when I used to do landscaping work, and I was always amazed at how I felt really comfortable after working all day on that tractor because the chair was ergonomically correct.
I didn't know that because I met President Kennedy when I was I was about 15, and I thought that was kind of wonderful to have a Kennedy rocker. My mother bought one, and we had one like that. So I had no idea they designed that for him that way.
Yeah. They're very comfortable.
I would like to know more about this technique, what you do, and what you'd like people to know about it, because so many people are in chronic pain and they don't know what to do about it.
What is protocol is a big word. What does protocol mean?
Protocol is the way we approach the pain. What I like to say is finding the why of the pain, and I have certain methods that I use, the way to diagnose it and such. One of the ways is, one of the first things I look at is probably sleep positions and sitting positions. That's very important. When Dr. Travell set up this protocol, she set it up kind of like a pie chart. You have all the slices to the pie, and in the middle is the word pain. And when you look at each of these slices and identify what's feeding into your pain and start to take those slices away, the pain starts to go away. So there's about 6 or 7 different steps that we use to identify what's going on with the pain.
And what are some of the steps? Do you have this on your website too?
I do.
You can tell us your website so people can look.
Oh, the website is thechronicpaincenter.com. On there I have something called a pain symptom checker, and they can go to that and it'll show you a picture of a human body. You can click on the head if you have headaches, or the back if you have back pain, and it'll show you different pain patterns. And if you happen to have let's say pain or stiffness back here in the shoulder blade, and it's actually a stiff neck where you can't turn your head, it's usually coming from this muscle right here, and you'll see it in red, and people will look at that and go, that's just where I'm feeling the pain. And so usually when they come to my office and they point to the picture on my chart, I'm able to say, well, that's the levator. This is what causes that muscle to hurt. So that if you're sleeping in a bad position, that's going to cause that muscle to hurt. Usually people will wake up with a stiff neck, and so they either had their head back or or did something else.
And you said the pieces of the pie. What are some of the pieces that you go through to see?
Oh, well, there's postures. We look at postures. Sitting correctly is important.
To sit up.
That's
Everybody
true.
has to
It's just
sit
like
up.
what your mom and dad told
Yes,
you when you were
stand
younger.
up straight, yes.
And invariably, the new patient, if they're sitting, when they're sitting across from me, will start to straighten up, and that's good. But that's not really the issue. The issue is, well, you have to sit correctly. But sometimes when they're sitting, I can see if somebody's leaning to the side, meaning that one side's a little smaller than the other. So for myself, I sit on, this is called an ischial lift.
Oh.
And if you can see on the camera, my shoulder just dipped right now because I am smaller on the right side. So I'll have this in my back pocket or right underneath me like this. That levels out my hips, which in turn straightens out my spine, and then all the muscles work together instead of against each other, because you're almost like a tower leaning over when you're short on one side. And so the structure's being stressed.
They want to see that on camera again. Can you show us? I didn't realize you had that. Isn't that amazing?
That's an
I
issue.
see the difference in your shoulder.
And I can feel it. I feel like I'm leaning this way towards Mike.
Yeah.
And so they come in different thicknesses. And the thing is, Mike, I believe when you came in, Mike was sitting on his wallet, which was really thick.
No.
You weren't? Oh, you
I was
didn't?
about to ask you,
Maybe it was another patient.
what
Yeah,
has the wallet got to do with it? And the thickness of the wallet got to
Yeah,
do
well,
with it?
and
He told me that it did have something to do
well,
with it, so
here, let me
he's
see that
kidding
if you don't mind.
All right.
You look at the difference in the thickness between these two. This is really thick, so if I put this under here, yeah, look at that. See, that's making me really,
yeah.
And that can cause pain. And
Where under there are you putting it? In the middle of your back?
no, it's right I'm sitting
underneath.
on it. It's called your sits bone or your ischial bone. And I put that right there. I have it.
Isn't that something? I see the difference in your shoulder.
And I can feel my body relax. I had a new patient today that just hurt all on his right side from the shoulder on down, and I could tell the way he was sitting that he needed that.
That's amazing.
And as soon as we put that under there, he could just had a look like this is the way it's supposed to be.
Because I had a lift in one of my shoes for a long time, because that I still have to wear it. That does make a difference in the standing.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't go to the same type of doctor. That I think different people use some of the techniques, but they may not be the same type of therapist they are. So how do you know what kind of person, what type of therapist to go to? How do people know?
Well, usually when people see me, they've been to everybody else. And I should say that when somebody has pain, they do need to see a doctor to make sure that it is muscle pain and not something really serious. So once that's ruled out, then they'll go to different professionals, and generally speaking, I will see them after they've tried everybody else.
Okay.
And they usually find me online or see one of my YouTube videos. And it either clicks and it makes sense to them, and they come in, and most of the time it's muscle pain. And once I get the muscles to settle down, that's what I do when they first come in, is level them out sitting and standing, and also correct some other posture issues. I look at diet a little bit, because if they don't have enough protein, their muscles can't function. But usually it's the ones that have been searching for a long time. And it feels really good to help them too, because we find the why of their pain. And
Did Dr. Terrell ever write a book, or have you written a book?
I've written a book on back pain. Dr. Terrell wrote 2 books, one for upper body, one for lower body, with I believe it was Dr. Simons, and it shows every pain pattern that the muscles can have. So we use those when I show my patients, this is what's going on, it's coming from this muscle, and this is what's perpetuating it.
I see.
So once I identify what is causing the pain, then you need to stop doing that and let the body settle down.
And one of the things I asked the crew, they had questions that they wanted to ask, because people always seem to have questions, and somebody mentioned children carrying backpacks and things that they do. So how does that affect you if you are doing things that every day like that, and you may not know how it can affect your back?
Well, repetitive motion, repetitive movement. I used to, before I did this, I used to install wallpaper and paint for a living. So I was always rolling ceilings and rolling walls and using my arms and my neck. And that's what caused a lot of my pain, was doing those repetitive motions. So to answer your question, the best thing to do is to have a stretch program so that you can release those muscles that are tight. Those kids that have the heavy backpacks, you can already see that some of them are starting to bend forward from the weight, and their little bodies are going to grow that way, so they have to know how to open this up a little bit so they can stand tall.
That's amazing that some of these, I didn't realize President Kennedy had been using this technique with his doctor, with his
Frank,
therapist.
you mentioned diet, and this the name of the show is Historic Tours and Recipes. And in a lot of recipes we use a lot of sugar.
Yes.
But as I recall, you talked to me early on when I saw you about the detrimental effects of sugar and how much sugar we didn't realize was in particular foods.
Yeah, you can have, with sugar, you can have too much. I mean, when we were younger, if we ever ate too much candy and we were sick the next day, I mean, that's the way I look at it. What happens is, I've had people come in before. One gentleman I remember in particular, he goes, "My shoulder's killing me," and went through and gave him the lifts and looked at other stuff. And then I said, "So what do you drink during the day?" Because I knew he worked outside a lot, and I thought he'd say Gatorade or water or something.
Sure.
Well, he drank 5 Pepsis a day.
Oh my goodness.
Which had a lot of sugar in it. So I told him before I could help him, he had to get off of the sugar, because sugar will hyper-irritate the muscles. Not just irritate them, but really hyper-irritate them. And also, when you have that much sugar, it suppresses your immune system for 4 to 6 hours, so your body can't heal. So if somebody's sick all the time and they're eating a lot of sugar, it's not good.
What's a lot of sugar?
A lot of sugar is something like this. I had one of my patients, she's a friend, and she came over for dinner, and when she came in, of course, I said, "How are you doing?" And she goes, "Well, I still hurt a little bit today." And she had this in her hand. And I said, "What's this?" And she goes, "Oh, it's got vitamin C and it has antioxidants. It's good stuff for you." And I said, "Have you looked at the back of it?" And she said, "No," because she was drinking 2 of these a day. This has 44 grams of sugar in it. Now, a teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams. So I had to measure this twice because I thought I messed up. But this is how much sugar is in this particular product.
Oh my goodness.
So that's way too much. And if you're doing that every day,
Twice of those would be.
yeah,
2 of those would be.
that's 22. That would be 22 teaspoons of sugar. So sugar's okay in moderation, just like anything else. But when you stop putting too much sugar into your system, your body starts to recover. This will cause inflammation. So it's really important to have eliminate as much of that as you can in the beginning. And it doesn't mean you can't have a pie or piece of pie or whatever when it's a special occasion, but you just don't want to overdo it.
And I think a lot of times people eat sugar and they don't even realize it's in the food. I know if you're watching sugar, or if someone's a diabetic, they can't have the sugar. It's amazing how many of our products have hidden sugar in it.
Yes.
And it's labeled in different ways.
I would have thought that 44 grams wasn't really that much.
Doesn't sound much, does it?
And I
And
know
even
I've
half
heard,
of that is significant.
I've heard Dr. Oz and other doctors say that our bodies just weren't built to handle a lot of sugar. But people eat enough sugar to fill a refrigerator every year when they really shouldn't have more than 1 or 2 pounds a whole year.
Well, I typically find too is people that come in and have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, or they're just in pain a lot. This is a great comfort food, because that's about the only thing they can do, and they don't realize that they're actually just compounding the pain by doing that.
And when your blood sugar starts to drop, people usually reach for something like sugar or coffee, or maybe something that'll raise the blood sugar level. But for years, I've had people telling me that eating a piece of fruit is much better. They tell you that at Weight Watchers. Eat a piece of fruit or eat some protein, and then your blood sugar is up level. Where if you're eating sugar, it keeps rebounding.
Protein is very important. It's a good point. I tell my patients every 3 to 4 hours have some protein, whether it's peanut butter, I have eggs in the morning. That's what your body needs, your muscles need to operate. That's the fuel for the muscles. And I've actually had people that have come in that weren't eating enough protein, that once they started eating protein, they dropped weight, and they were very excited about that, because their muscles were able to function better, so it burned it off quicker.
And you're not as hungry if you eat protein.
Correct.
Where you're hungry later if you've had a lot of empty calories.
Yes, yes.
So
Now, you mentioned fibromyalgia. I've heard a lot about that, and I often thought I had it. But I read on your website that there was a difference between fibromyalgia and general pain, and it had something to do with trigger points, which is in your title.
Yes. Fibromyalgia patients have tender points. I think there's 18 tender points. So if you're touched in 11 of those 18 spots, they will say that you have fibromyalgia.
What are these trigger points?
Trigger points. Let me show you
Yes,
this if you
I
want.
was going to ask what your
I
props
pull
are.
this out, and my patients think I'm going to check their
Yes,
heart or listen to, and it's not. I'm just trying to give them an example. This is what our muscles should be like, toned and able to move. And as we sleep wrong, or as we have that short leg or short hip, these muscles start to tighten up, and they tighten up until one day you go to reach for that jar in the cupboard or something, and bam, it just, you go, wow, what did I do? It just happened all of a sudden. It didn't happen all of a sudden. That muscle was getting tighter and tighter until finally it just got that trigger point, that knot in the muscle. So what I tell my patients is my goal is to find out why this happened, not to just rub it, make it feel a little bit better. I want it to go away completely. So once we identify what's going on and why the tightness got there, we get you back to where you have a full functioning muscle again.
Yes.
And I give my patients stretches to do so that they can keep that muscle at its full length.
And what are some of the stretches? Are they standing or sitting?
Oh, there's all kinds. It just depends on what's going on. For instance, Mike had called me the other day and said, you know, I hurt here. What kind of stretch would I do? And I said, I have some a video on on YouTube that you can go to and do the one that I'm.
And I had just happened to watch it the night before, so I knew exactly what he was talking about. But his website has got videos, and there's a referral to a YouTube website on his main website that is YouTube Pain in Virginia.
Yeah, it's YouTube channel Pain in Virginia.
And he's got a lot of different videos for various different types of pain, and I've used them in the past. And versus some of the other stretches that I've been given that have not been as effective, the simple ones that Frank has are very effective.
And tell us the website again so they can go and find the videos.
It's the chronicpaincenter.com. And yeah, there's a lot of information on there.
You can look and see the videos, for the people watching. And do you have, did you give them your phone number too?
They have that on the screen as well, I believe.
Sometimes we have people say it in case they're, some of the blind people that watch, we want to hear that.
Well, if you Google the Chronic Pain Center, there's no doubt who he is and where he is, because it comes up very fast with all types of references to Springfield, Virginia, and that type of stuff.
All right. We brought some other things here. Do you want to tell us about the lift in the shoe?
Well, this is a lift that will go in a shoe. I have 3 different sizes. I happen to wear one this size, and because again, when I stand, if I stood, you would see without the lift, I am lower on one side, and the goal is to have my hips level. And so I have this on my right side, as well as, you know, I'm sitting on this, the same thing as this on my right side. So if I keep that consistent with the hips being level, again, the muscles are relaxed, they're not under stress. And this is just one part of the protocol. I mean, you got to do this and this, you've got to watch the sugar. You know.
And do you get these from, can people get these from you?
Yes, from my office, yes. Because I have to measure you. I look and make sure, and I do a strength test to you to show that it is the right fit.
Sure.
Mine are on my left side, but I have one in my shoe, and I sit on one that's about the size of a Reader's Digest in every chair, but the one I perhaps spend the most time in, the car.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you do a strength test, is this something with your eyes closed? How do you do that?
If I usually have them put their arms out straight, I can tell when, you know, I know somebody's uneven. I know they're not going to be that strong, and I can get a muscle-bound person in, or even female or male, and they'll put their arms out and they think I'm going to hold my arms up, and they're amazed at how quickly their arms go down because they're off kilter, and I will put the lift in the shoe or have them sit on that, and redo the strength test, and they're like a rock. I can't move them. I mean, they're just stiff, and they can feel the difference, and their eyes open wide because they're like, that was a trick. And I tell them to take the lift back out, and sometimes I'll take a $50 bill and I'll put it on their arm, and I'll go, if you can hold your arms up, the 50 is yours. And they do try. And then when I push, their arms go down. And I've told them I haven't lost money yet. So, but
well, that certainly is a nice little demonstration to do.
Yeah.
We've asked you questions. Is there something you'd like to say to the audience that maybe to the people at home we didn't ask you? Something you?
You know, I think we've covered a lot. I basically am a muscle function specialist. I know what muscles, if you say it hurts here and it's on my charts, I believe I can help you. And then we'll go over why the pain is there, and it usually works.
And it may not be the muscle you think it is.
Correct.
In my case, where I have back pain, it has something to do with the muscles in the front.
Right, it does.
If there's any muscles.
There are. I get a lot of folks, and they'll go like this, and I go, no, it's not that. It's not weight. It's the muscles are tight because of the way we sit and the way we do different things. So.
Well, sometimes people, like when you were talking about the different trigger points on President Kennedy and the way they treated him, he had an injury from the war. I just wondered if that was something that helped his pain a great deal, or was it something where they had to operate on him also?
Now that I don't know about the operating part. In fact, I don't believe Dr. Travell talked about anything to do with the president just because of the confidential thing with that. But what she was able to help him with was just the same things that I'm describing to you. Once you take the stress off of the body, it's amazing how it can overcome a lot of things.
That is probably why we didn't hear much about it, because of the confidentiality. But it's nice to see that there are, and actually I've worn these before from other people that I've been to. I went to an osteopath, and they had an x-ray to see if you were level or not, and they did prescribe those to people. But it helped a great deal, but I didn't realize that there was a strength test that could be done also.
Yeah, there's some things you can do. I will tell you that one thing that people should know is I'm not just a therapist. I was in chronic pain myself for over 20 years, to where 13, 14 years ago, I was on 80 pain pills a week for my pain because nobody could find why I hurt. And once I found out about this and got treated, I was pain-free. And it was also, this just jumped out at me. This was something I was supposed to do. And it was like the light bulb went on. And so I'm very familiar with chronic pain.
I can verify the business with the pain pills, because when I first went to Frank, I was on some very powerful pain pills, and then because of his therapy, I was able to reduce those dramatically. So
well, that's the type of thing, you know, people want something that works, and they don't. Many people are taking OxyContin for pain, and then you see many times they need more and more of it, even though it's not supposed to be addictive.
Your body gets used to it, that's why,
And I didn't have to, I only went to you for 4 visits.
If that much,
It's not one of these programs where you have to keep going back every week. I only saw Frank in the beginning for 4 visits and went back for a consult maybe once or twice.
Oh, well, he speaks of you very often and speaks quite well of you, so I thought maybe it was something that was ongoing, but it's just a short
No,
thing,
it should be something, usually I tell patients anywhere from 2 to maybe 6 visits. And usually we're able to find the why. If we don't, if something's still going on, then we have to.
That's great. I really enjoyed hearing about this because, you know, you don't always get a chance to speak to the therapist or to the person that someone's telling you about. So it's wonderful that you could come in and join us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. And I must say, he has a great sense of humor. It's been fun to talk to him. So, is there anything else you wanted to ask, or anything else you wanted to tell?
I'm fine. I have an appointment.
You have your
consult.
appointment. And it's all private, so we can't tell some of these things. I must say that you brought some charts with you, and because they're in glass, the glass glares when we have television, but I wanted to see if there was anything on the chart that you could tell us about. It's on your website, but maybe you could describe some of what's on there. You were doing it before the show, and I thought...
Well, the charts are basically listed like with the head and the neck and other parts of the body, and I'll just point my patient to that particular, you know, as I'm listening to them. Actually, if they're saying it hurts right here, and I'll go, here, stand up, does it look like this?
It's interactive on his website.
Okay.
You just click on where the pain is,
Yes.
and it's the same purpose as his charts fulfill.
Okay.
So if you go to the chronicpaincenter.com, you get a lot of information for nothing.
Okay. Well, we're going to do that, and for anybody that's watching, this is Historic Tours and Recipes, and you can reach us by, we have the phone number and the email on there. I have several emails, but you can reach us at nantucketrose@yahoo.com, and we will be happy to forward any information, or go to Frank's website, and you can probably email you yourself.
Certainly, or
What
call.
is your email? Can you tell us?
It's painofvirginia@gmail.com.
Okay, and want to say your phone number for us? too?
703-313-8550.
Okay, so anybody that's watching, that's how you can contact him.
How did you get in this business? You said you were a painter, and then you had pain, and then what got you interested in this?
I kept searching to find out why I hurt, and I found a therapist that did this, and she in turn helped me, and then I started going to school for this.
I see. So what did you have to study at school? What kind of a course do you take?
Oh, well, you had anatomy, then I had to learn all the muscle pain patterns and things like that. It involves a lot.
So your certification is from how many years of school?
It's about 1 year of school and about 2 years of on the job.
On the job.
Yeah,
I think we're out of time.
I think we are too, so we're going to say thank you so much for coming here and joining us.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mike, for bringing him and for coming here.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching. We want to say God bless you. This is Thank You from Historic Tours and Recipes, and we'll see you again next time. Tune in when we are doing our